The Penguin finale is finally here. I can't wait to talk about it. Oh, hold on. I just gotta answer this. Oh, sorry. It's Sofia Falcone. Gigante. Sorry, I gotta change the contact in here. Hey, Sofia. Was just about to head out to join you to torment Oz. Just wanted to do a vibe check. Just want to figure out what I should wear because, oh, she sent a picture. Let me see. Oh, I was not expecting that. Welcome back, everybody. It is finally time for us to talk about the Penguin finale, and this was maybe the most emotional turmoil I've been put through with this show and just with television in a while. So we're going to get into it. Obviously, I had to dress for my girl Sofia. She was bringing it in this episode, and I've just been loving her style throughout, so you know I had to bring it myself. Also, Oz was bringing it. But before we talk about all of that, I just want to say a friendly spoiler warning. Obviously, this is the finale, so there's a lot of stuff going on. I don't want to spoil any of it for you, so if you want to avoid that, now is the time. Go watch the finale, and then come back. I'll wait for you. And by wait for you, I mean you could pause this, and then you come back. So basically, the synopsis of the episode is that some dark truths come out between Oz and his mom Francis regarding his brother's death. It turns out that Francis knew about his involvement the whole time. Sofia puts them in a place where they are forced to confront this truth, but that actually results in her plan of tormenting them going sideways. As a result of this, Francis ends up attacking Oz and then passes out, which means that Oz is able to get the upper hand in this chaos and actually escape with his mom. They get to the hospital. Vic ends up coming and joining them there. He tried to rally the troops. It didn't quite work, but Oz ends up having another plan. He goes to City Hall and he decides to make a sort of deal with the councilman who helped him get the lights back on. They want to pin everything on Sofia. In this, a major plan comes to fruition. Sofia also has her own plan. She's trying to get all the gangs to find Oz and hand him over, which does end up happening. However, even this is a plan that is twisted on her when Oz reveals that he has actually been in league with the right hands of the gangs. And his plan, through probably also with Vic, is to get them to rise up above their leaders in each gang, take over, and in that way, Penguin will have control over them as they don't have as much ego as the people that were originally leading. In this way, he's able to actually get Sofia to himself. They go on this final drive. Ultimately, it seems like he's going to kill her, but what he really does is hand her over to the GCPD, which means, yeah, she's back in Arkham, which is, of course, a fate way worse than death. And ultimately, where does this leave us? Well, it leaves the Penguin with his mom, but his mom is now in a catatonic state. Ultimately, he has Vic left, but he decides to turn on Vic because Vic is too close to him at this point. He says Vic is like family and family makes him weak. But of course, in a twist, even though his mom is not in a place to be alive anymore and she asked him to take him out if she ever couldn't actually live her life, he decides not to because ultimately he is the biggest mama's boy that we've ever seen. He is obsessed with his mother, and we see this also in the end when he finally gets his penthouse for his mom, keeping her alive there and enjoying a night with Eve, having gone full Penguin, top hat, tails, the whole 9 yards. And Eve and him dance away as she also cosplays basically as his mother. Super creepy. Of course, while Penguin feels like everything is his at this moment in time, we also see in the distance there is a bat signal. So a lot happens in this episode, clearly. That is as brief as I can make it. I tried to do it before and it was like a 10-minute synopsis, so I'm really cutting it short, but it is a long episode. It's over an hour. It basically feels like a mini movie. So how did I feel about this finale? I mean, this might be the strongest end to a show that I've seen in a while, and we've had some pretty strong shows in just this year alone, with also some pretty strong finales, but I think this is the best finale I've seen really in, I don't even know. This might be one of the best finales I've ever seen ever of television. That's how good it is. This show is definitely going to be one of my top shows of the year. I mean, maybe one of my top shows of all time at this point. That's how good it is. I really, really like it. Why do I like it? What makes it stand out for me? And why do I feel like if you're not watching this and you've just been following along on this journey that you actually need need to go back now and watch all of it. Well, to me, the amazing thing about this show, a lot of it lies in the performances. I feel like all of these actors are just so solid throughout and just give us performances to die for. They are so good. I literally want to act scenes from this show. The script writing is so strong, but it also goes beyond that. I mean, I think something that I really love is the humanity of this show, which comes up in a lot of different ways. It's also a really beautiful show. There's a lot of great cinematic moments. There's a lot of shots in this, particularly the scene where Sofia ends up returning to her home before she goes to meet with Oz, and she just sets it aflame. The way that is all shot, it's just beautiful. I mean, something that I've talked about throughout this series, and something that I will probably talk about in my full season review for the show a little bit more, is that the cinematic element of the show is just so strong. And when I say that, what I mean is, to me, the strength of film, and when I say that, what I mean is the strength of film as a medium is that you don't have to say things in order to convey story points. It is a very visual medium, and this is a show that is not afraid of that. In fact, like I've said before, a lot of the times it's what's not being said that is more interesting than what is being said, and the stuff that characters hold back. A lot of the times for these characters, it is little nuances. For Sofia, a lot of the times it's her reactions. For Oz, a lot of the times it is the truths that he is not willing to admit to himself. He is a liar through and through, but I feel like the person that he lies to the most is himself. It's beautifully illustrated in this finale, and it really sums up who his character is. And the arc for his character throughout this entire season is just unparalleled. It really is amazing. As much as I love all of the characters in the show, and you all know how much of a Sofia fan I am, clearly, I love Sofia, but I just think Colin Farrell as Oz really, really has done something outstanding here. If this show does not get awards, something is wrong with the world, because there are so many performances here that really deserve awards, I think. And not just that, they deserve all of the views. I mean, I hope that people are really watching this show because it really deserves it. It just deserves all the accolades. The makeup is also fantastic, by the way. I was talking about this when I was watching it. I was reflecting on the fact that in the Batman, obviously the whole look for the Penguin is amazing, but I think they've even improved upon it in the Penguin. So if you also just like the prosthetics, the makeup, that side of it, and the complete transformation of Colin Farrell, I think you're really going to find a lot to intrigue you in this show, because I think it is just evolved in an even greater way. A lot of these characters have great journeys, though. It's not just Oz. We need to talk about Francis. I just feel like young Francis and older Francis in the show just beautifully mirror each other. And I'm sure that is, you know, both of those actresses coming together and really finding that connection between them. But the way that this was cast is definitely something that speaks to it, but also the performances and how they find, I think, nuances in each other. And I'm not sure who is taking inspiration from who, or if it's a little bit both ways. I can't wait to look into more as to how this show was made. I feel like I'm going to find that really fascinating. But the performances of Francis, both young and old, are superb. This episode really highlights that. So if you like Francis as a character and you think her journey is interesting and fascinating, you're really going to enjoy this episode. We really learn what is going on with her and kind of her part in making Oz who he was, and her regrets in regards to the way that she has lived her life and been involved in that, and how she feels she really did make a monster. And honestly, by the end of this episode, I gotta say I agree. I don't think Oz is redeemable at the end of this, ultimately. There's a few reasons for that. I mean, definitely what he did with Sofia. And Sofia is another character that has just had a beautiful arc throughout this entire show. It's heartbreaking to see her go back to Arkham. It really is a fate worse than death, I think, for her character. She's just completely broken. But the silver lining is at least she's alive. I was worried that we were only going to get her in this season. And Cristin Milioiti is she's just so good. I need more of her in this universe. And I'm really enjoying just the care and the detail that they're taking to build the universe, to build the world, and to build the characters. Sophia's a character I've always loved because you just never know what she's gonna do. Like I joked at the beginning of this video with the vibe check. I love her look, I love her style, I love how unpredictable she is, but how all of her motivations just make so much sense. And she really represents, I think there's a lot of characters in this, a lot of strong female characters that represent this idea of the oppression of women as a theme and the sadness of, I don't know, this loss of just any potential, any control in a way. Even with a character like Eve, I feel like Eve is interesting because as a character, she does have control. She chose the life that she's in. That's at least what she exudes. But at the same time, she bets on Sofia and she loses that bet. There's so much loss that a lot of these female characters suffer. But the interesting thing too is that they're all strong characters in their own ways. Or whether we're talking about Francis or Eve or Sofia, all three of these women who are different are all very strong. I just feel like Sofia is such a cool, crazy monster of a character herself who is also forced in a tragic way to kind of become her dad, who she hated so much, and really tries to break down who she is so that she just wants to be free, so that she can just be free of it, be free of this terrible legacy of her family. And yet she ultimately literally gets locked away in a prison, the opposite of freedom. But the good news is we do find out at the end that obviously she has her half-sister, Selena Kyle, out there. So there's hope that maybe her and Selena, maybe we're going to get some Gotham City Sirens. This is what I'm hoping for with Sofia and Catwoman. I don't know. Would that be weird? I would be super here for it, honestly. I would be super here for it. And I do think that there could be redemption for Sofia, at least, unlike some other characters in this. One of the sweetest characters that we've had that had such a dark arc and had such a tragic end, Vic. Clearly not Victor Zsasz, unless he's gonna come back from the dead, because by the end of this, unfortunately, Vic is eliminated by Oz. What a betrayal. But ultimately, Vic is a cool character, not just for his own story, which I think is amazing and well done. This idea of a character who loses everything and in a moment of peril, in a moment where his life is threatened, he ends up rising and surviving and even thriving with Oz and kind of finding a place for himself and really feeling like he's coming into his own, that he could fit into this life of crime. And actually, he's pretty great at it in a weird way. You really root for this kid. But at the same time, it's not just about Vic's own personal journey, it's also about how it relates to Oz. In a way, Vic, and I've said this from the beginning, I think Vic represents Oz's inner child to him. And that's why ultimately in the end, Oz has to take him out. I mean, he says, you know, it's also this idea of family making us weak. And I think a part of Oz believes that, but Oz is also a very human character in the sense that he's saying that while still keeping his mom alive, which technically would make him pretty weak, especially because if someone takes his mom now, there's literally nothing that she can even do to get out of it. She's can't move. She can't do anything. It's a contradiction, but it's a very human contradiction. But I think ultimately what's also happening here with Vic's death is that it's Oz killing the part of himself that was that good kid. It's him realizing that to be the criminal he wants to be, to do the things he needs to do to keep control of this city, he can't have any weakness. And he can't have really any goodness in him. And although there are elements of that we see at the beginning of the show, by the end of the show, he's really become this new character. He's become this true villain, irredeemable, a complete monster. Everything that everybody said he was, he manifests by the end. And obviously a big liar. He's really lying to himself. He still refuses, I think, throughout. I don't think he'll ever admit that he literally killed his brothers. He knows it, but he'll never admit it. Like I said, the biggest lies that he tells are to himself. And ultimately, that's what I love about this story. It really is a great character study on this version of the Penguin. It's really cool to see how the Penguin rose up in this world and took advantage of everything and fully shed all the good parts of himself to become a true villain in the story, someone that is worthy of the Batman Rogues Gallery, and who, in a way, has created, I think, what will be his own demise, in saying that in order to do what he needs to do, he has to get rid of his family. It's a weakness. Can't have any ties to anyone. And I think when characters say things like that, I just don't believe it's true. And I ultimately think that's what's going to be his downfall. Because, you know, he's a Batman villain, so he's got to lose. That's just how it goes. I don't make the rules. That's just how it goes. I also can't wait to see how Batman is going to play into all of this, what he's been up to when we eventually get to the next Batman film. And I hope that we get more series in this universe. This show has really made me even more hungry for more stuff in this version of Gotham. I think it's so cool, and I can't wait to explore it more and see what we do with it. And, you know, I think it's hard because there's a lot of Batman media out there, so there's a lot of concerns with telling the same story again, but this really makes it feel fresh in a fun way. So I can't wait to see what else they do with it. And I can't wait to have the journey continue. What a cool show. This exceeded my expectations beyond. This episode, I don't even know. This episode is like a 6 out of 5. It's the best episode. I know I've said that in every review, that each episode is the new best episode, but this is the end. So this is really the best episode for me. This is my final, the best episode. When I do a full review, maybe I'll go through and rank them all, and I'm sure it'll be just me going back from the end to the beginning. But we'll see. Maybe I will change my mind. Maybe this won't be the best. But in this moment, it's the best episode. 6 out of 5. 6 top hats out of 5. It's just insanely good. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think of this finale. Let me know what you've been thinking of this show. If there's anything you'd like me to expand on or talk about, or things that I maybe talked about in my earlier episode reviews you'd like me to revisit for the full series review, let me know down in the comments. Where are you hoping this goes next? What are some other characters you'd love to see brought into this world? Or, you know, do you just want more original stories? Did you like the fact that Vic, you know, wasn't really anyone in particular? He's just a character in this universe, not necessarily from anything in the comics specifically. I personally really love that, and I hope we get more stories like that as well, because I just think they're interesting. And that way I really don't know where they're going, because they're not technically based on anything specific. I'll see you next time, but until then, friends, as always, stay nerdy.